Have you ever walked into a room and felt the energy shift, without saying a word, without doing anything out of the ordinary? Maybe people glance your way more than usual. Maybe they fall silent. Or maybe someone suddenly gets defensive, cold, or unusually distant. And you're left wondering, what did I do? But what if the answer isn't what you did? It's who you are. There's a kind of presence that speaks louder than words. A kind of energy that fills a space and cannot be ignored. It's not about arrogance. It's not about trying to dominate. It's something deeper. Something unspoken. A quiet power that lives in you. Most people don't even realize they have it. This aura that commands attention. That disturbs the insecure. That awakens something in others, even if those others can't explain it. And if you've ever felt like people react to you in ways you can't quite explain, there's a reason. You're not imagining it. You're not too sensitive. You're not too intense. You're just powerful. This power doesn't come from status or loudness. It comes from depth, from having lived through what others only fear, from carrying scars you turned into strength, from knowing who you are in a world that constantly tries to make you forget. Your aura is the energy of that unshakable truth. And when you walk in it, when you stand in that truth, you shift the frequency of any room you enter. Some will admire it, some will be drawn to it, and yes, some will be disturbed by it, even if they don't know why. Because your energy doesn't just take up space, it challenges people. It reflects their own uncertainty back at them, and not everyone is ready to face that. But here's what you need to hear: that reaction has nothing to do with your worth. In fact, it's proof of it. It means you're not invisible. It means your presence matters. It means you carry something real, and real power, true authenticity, raw presence. They don't always feel comfortable to others, especially in a world that celebrates masks and silence. But you weren't born to be comfortable. You were born to be felt. The fact that your energy stirs emotions is a gift, not a curse. It means you're alive in a way most people aren't. It means you've grown in ways many people never will. And it means you have the ability to inspire, awaken, and even shake others free from their sleep, simply by being who you are. So if you've ever been told you're too much, or felt the need to shrink just to make others feel okay, this is your moment to stop. Don't dim your light just because it's blinding to those still hiding in the dark. Stay with this message, because by the time this ends, you'll see every sign you've ever questioned, not as a weakness, but as evidence that your aura is far more powerful than you've ever been told. That power within you, it isn't an accident. It wasn't something you woke up with one day. It was forged, built layer by layer through pain, through truth, through choices most people never had the courage to make. While others avoided their wounds, you faced yours. While they stayed silent, you spoke up. And while the world tried to shape you into something safer, softer, easier to understand, you became more of yourself. That's why your aura doesn't go unnoticed. Because you've done what few dare to do. You've owned your identity, your pain, your purpose. And people can feel that before they ever hear your voice. This kind of presence cuts through noise. It exposes what's fake. It makes people question the roles they've been playing. And for some, that's uncomfortable. Because when someone like you walks into their world, you don't just bring your energy, you bring truth. And truth always demands a response. Some will be drawn to you because your strength reminds them of their own potential. Others will withdraw because it reminds them of what they've been avoiding. Don't take that personally. It's not rejection, it's recognition. They see something in you that shakes something in them. What you carry isn't just energy, it's clarity, a sense of direction, a groundedness that doesn't waver with opinions or trends. You don't need to prove your worth because it radiates from how you carry yourself. That kind of power is rare. It's not loud, but it's unforgettable. It doesn't beg for attention, but it commands respect. And most importantly, it doesn't ask permission to exist. You've probably felt it. How people react to you before you even speak. The glances, the hesitation, the judgment masked as jokes. That's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because you're doing something right. You're being real. And realness is disruptive. It breaks patterns. It shifts dynamics. It forces people to see what they've been avoiding in themselves. That's why your aura stirs the room. It brings an energy that refuses to play small. And yes, that means you'll be misunderstood, misjudged, even avoided. But that's not your burden. That's your power. Because your presence isn't here to make everyone feel safe. It's here to wake them up. And the ones meant to rise with you will. The rest will fall away, as they should. So don't shrink to fit in. Don't soften to make others comfortable. Don't water down your truth to be liked. Your energy is a force, a mirror, a reminder of what's possible when someone refuses to live in fear. And the world needs more of that. It needs more of you, unfiltered, unapologetic, and unshakable. This is your sign to stop questioning the way people react to you. Start recognizing it for what it truly is, proof that your aura is powerful enough to disturb the silence others have been living in. And that is exactly what you were born to do. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. You don't have to take up space to prove you belong. Your energy does the talking long before your words ever arrive. That's the thing about true presence. It isn't loud. It's not dramatic or attention-seeking. It's quiet confidence. It's stillness that rattles cages. And when you walk with that kind of inner peace, it unsettles those who rely on noise to feel seen. Because your silence, your groundedness, your calm, they speak of something real, something solid, something earned. People feel that. They feel the weight of someone who has done the inner work. Someone who doesn't flinch when things get tense. Someone who doesn't need to win approval to know they have value. And that kind of calm, that kind of certainty, threatens every mask in the room. That's why you might notice others become defensive, irritated, or confused around you. They can't name it, but they sense it. Your energy exposes their doubt. Your calm reveals their chaos. Your grounded truth shows them how far they've drifted from their own. And instead of leaning in, many pull away. That's not a reflection of your worth. That's confirmation of your impact. Because people don't get shaken by those who blend in. They don't get uncomfortable around those who live small. They only react when something forces them to feel, really feel, and your energy does that. It awakens something buried. It demands presence. It calls out truth without speaking a word. And that's why you must never question the reactions you trigger. You must never feel guilty for being too much for people who've settled for too little. There is a deep strength in the way you carry yourself, in your refusal to chase validation, in your ability to hold space without trying to fill it. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes you unforgettable. People may not understand you, but they won't forget you. Because real power is felt, not explained. And you have it. Not because you asked for it, but because you became it. Through the fires you endured. Through the choices you made. Through the silence you learned to stand strong in. Let that power keep growing. Let it disrupt what it needs to. You weren't made to be palatable. You were made to be impactful. And that means your energy won't always make people feel comfortable, but it will make them feel. And in a world that's numb, that's rare, that's needed, that's powerful. So stay grounded, stay calm, stay solid in who you are, because that unshakable presence is your superpower. It's what sets you apart. And the more you own it, the less you'll care who misunderstands it. Because when your energy comes from within, no reaction from the outside can take it away. Keep walking in that power. Keep being the calm in the storm. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be felt. When your energy is aligned, it becomes a mirror, not the kind that flatters, the kind that reflects truth, the kind that forces people to see themselves clearly, sometimes for the first time. And not everyone is ready for that. When you walk into a room fully in your power, fully present, fully aware of who you are, you unconsciously hold up that mirror. People sense it before they understand it. They feel exposed, even if you've said nothing at all, because your aura does what most words never can. It reveals what's hidden. That's why you might find people treating you strangely, acting defensive when there's no conflict, pulling away when all you did was exist. It's not about anything you've done, it's about what you represent. You stand for something real in a world that runs on pretense. You live awake in a world that prefers sleep. And that level of awareness, that energy, doesn't blend in. It disrupts, it disturbs, it challenges. You don't even have to try. That's the weight of authenticity. It makes people uncomfortable because it shows them what they've buried beneath their smiles. But don't carry that as a burden. Carry it as a signal. It means you've outgrown spaces where surface-level connection was enough. It means your energy now demands depth, truth, alignment, and only those ready to rise will rise with you. Everyone else will find reasons to fall away. Let them. You are not here to dim your light to ease someone else's fear of their own reflection. You are here to shine so brightly that it becomes impossible for them to keep hiding. Your presence has power because it comes from self-trust, from integrity, from knowing you don't need to perform to be valuable. That's what people feel. That's why it shakes them. Because they sense that you are not playing the same game. You're not chasing what they chase. You're not seeking what they seek. You found something they haven't, and it shows. That's what sets your aura apart. It's not loud. It's not artificial. It's deeply rooted in truth. And truth always disturbs illusion. So let the mirror stay up. Let people react. Let them squirm. Let them withdraw. That's not your responsibility to fix. Your responsibility is to stay real, to stay aligned, to keep honoring the power you've built from within. Because that power doesn't just serve you, it awakens others, sometimes gently, sometimes painfully, but always with purpose. You don't need to apologize for the way your energy shifts a space. You've earned every ounce of it, through your resilience, through your healing, through your choice to keep rising when others gave up. So let your aura be the mirror it was meant to be, and let it shake whatever needs to be shaken. Because if your presence stirs discomfort, then maybe that's exactly what was needed. When your energy carries truth, it doesn't just mirror others. It reveals patterns, exposes weakness, and disrupts what was never built on something solid. And that disruption can feel like danger to those still clinging to comfort. They might not say it out loud, but inside they feel it. That subtle tension when you speak without fear, that shift in the air when you stand firm in who you are. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. And alignment is threatening to people who are still living out of step with themselves. You can sense it, the glances, the subtle resistance, the way some people tense up in your presence, even when you're kind. That reaction isn't about you, it's about what you bring to the surface. You carry a frequency that doesn't tolerate inauthenticity. And when you enter a space, it's not just you that enters. It's every decision you've made to grow, every time you chose healing over bitterness, every time you chose strength over silence. That energy speaks, even if your mouth never does. People feel that. They feel the weight of someone who refuses to break under pressure. They sense your boundaries before they hit them. They recognize that you are not someone who can be manipulated, persuaded, or controlled. That makes you different. And difference, especially when it's rooted in truth, always makes waves. It shakes up the room. Not because you're trying to, but because you can't help but radiate everything you've fought to become. It can be isolating. Being the one whose presence changes the temperature in the room. Being the one who doesn't play along with what's fake or expected. But isolation isn't punishment. It's proof. Proof that your energy doesn't need a crowd to have value. Proof that you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out, to stand strong, to stand tall, even when you stand alone. Your aura is the result of everything you've overcome. That's why it's powerful. That's why it's unshakable. And that's why it disturbs those still hiding from themselves. Not everyone is ready to meet someone who has nothing to prove. Not everyone is ready to be seen by someone who isn't wearing a mask. But that's not your concern. You're not here to make people feel safe in their denial. You're here to be an example of what happens when someone chooses truth, again and again, no matter the cost. So let your energy challenge what it needs to challenge. Let your presence continue to wake people up. You weren't built for comfort, you were built for impact. And the way you shift a room without trying is proof that your growth was never wasted. Your light doesn't need validation, it just needs space to shine. Keep giving it that space. Keep honoring your power. Because your aura isn't too much, it's exactly enough to shake the world awake. There's a reason people open up around you without knowing why. A reason they tell you things they've never said out loud. It's not by accident. It's not coincidence. It's because your energy feels safe, but not soft. You don't just listen, you see, and that kind of presence is rare. You offer space without judgment. You hold silence without pressure. And in a world full of noise, your calm becomes a refuge. People sense that you won't pretend, that you won't betray their truth, that you won't use their vulnerability as currency, so they drop their armor, sometimes without even realizing it. Your aura carries a quiet strength that invites honesty, and people feel drawn to that, even if they don't understand why. They feel the depth in you, the part that knows pain, loss, healing, and truth. They trust you because you've clearly walked through your own fire and didn't let it make you cold. You've faced yourself, and that gives others permission to face themselves too. Most people are starving to be heard, seen, understood, not fixed, just felt, and your presence delivers that without needing to say much at all. But this gift can be heavy, because not everyone who opens up to you is ready to grow. Some just want relief, not responsibility. Some want your strength, not your truth. They want to feel better, not be better. And that's where your energy becomes unsettling, because you don't offer comfort that keeps people stuck. You offer clarity, and clarity demands change. That's what sets you apart. You don't enable illusions. You reflect them, and while that brings some people closer, it will push others away. Don't let that confuse you. You are not here to carry people who refuse to walk. You're here to be a light, for those who are ready to see. And that means learning how to hold space without losing yourself, how to offer compassion without becoming someone's crutch, how to listen without absorbing. That's the mastery of someone with a powerful aura. They give deeply, but they do not abandon themselves to do it. They offer truth, even when it's uncomfortable, and they know when to let go, even when others cling. Your presence is not a convenience. It's a catalyst. People feel it when they're near you. They feel seen in ways that shake them. And that's not something to hide. That's something to honor, because your ability to awaken honesty, to bring out the truth others bury, is rare and needed. It's not your job to save everyone, but it is your responsibility to remain who you are, to keep showing up with the depth, the clarity, and the power that your energy naturally holds. You're not just someone people talk to. You're someone who changes them. Even if they never say it, even if they walk away, they remember how it felt to be real with you. And that feeling lingers long after you're gone. There's something undeniable about being seen by someone who doesn't look away. Someone whose energy doesn't just hear your words, but hears you. And that's exactly what your presence does. It brings people out of hiding. Not because you're trying to fix them, but because your energy refuses to entertain anything less than the truth. You don't ask for masks to be removed. Your presence makes it unnecessary. People sense that you aren't interested in who they pretend to be. You see through the surface. You always have. And that level of clarity creates impact. It's not always comfortable, but it's unforgettable. Because when someone feels truly seen, they either lean into that awareness or run from it. There's rarely anything in between. That's why your relationships may feel intense, unpredictable, or short-lived. It's not that you're doing too much. It's that others don't know what to do with someone who doesn't flinch at their truth. They're used to shallow conversations, diluted emotions, and surface-level validation. But your energy isn't built for any of that. You go deep, and deep always disturbs what's shallow. What you carry is rare. You don't seek to control others. You seek to understand. You don't manipulate with charm. You influence with presence. You don't need to be liked to feel whole. You just need to stay real. And that reality is your strength. That emotional honesty, that raw self-awareness, that unspoken depth. It shakes people awake, sometimes gently, sometimes painfully, but always with purpose. There's a quiet power in refusing to shrink just because others feel small around you. A sacred responsibility in holding your ground, even when it's easier to conform. That's the weight of truth. That's the beauty of walking fully in your own energy. It doesn't always make you popular, but it makes you powerful. And while others seek attention, you command it, without even trying. Because presence speaks louder than performance, and yours is unmistakable. You weren't made for the shallow. You weren't made for the fake. You weren't made to echo the noise around you. You were made to be a signal, a shift, a reminder of what it looks like when someone chooses truth over comfort, purpose over popularity, realness over approval. That's why people can't forget you, even if they leave, even if they don't understand, even if they try to dismiss you. Because your energy lingers, your presence stays, it marks people. So keep being that reminder. Keep holding your light steady. Let others react. Let them misunderstand. Let them resist. Your role was never to be accepted by everyone. It was to awaken something in the right ones, the ones ready to grow, the ones ready to feel, the ones ready to stop hiding. Your aura makes that impossible to ignore, and that's not a problem. That's your purpose. Keep standing in it, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. Being the one who sees through everything comes with a cost. You don't just see people's potential, you see their patterns, their wounds, their masks. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That awareness creates distance, not because you've pulled away, but because others can't hide in your presence. Pretending doesn't hold up around someone whose energy demands truth, and that's what makes you feel misunderstood. People misread your stillness as coldness, your silence as judgment, your distance as arrogance. But what they don't understand is that you're not distant, you're discerning. You feel everything, even what isn't said, especially what isn't said. And while others are busy reacting to what's loud and obvious, you're tuned into what's quiet and real. That kind of perception is rare, it's powerful. But it's also isolating, because the more aware you become, the less you're able to participate in the illusions people cling to. You see through manipulation. You feel insincerity before it's spoken. And you notice when energy shifts, even if no one else does. That doesn't make you difficult, it makes you awake. And being awake in a world that thrives on distraction means you're often the one standing alone. You won't engage in gossip just to feel included. You won't fake emotions to keep peace. You won't follow the crowd just to be liked. That makes you different, and different makes people uncomfortable. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because your energy disrupts what they've normalized. You're not playing the same game. You're not chasing the same validation. You're operating from a place most people haven't accessed yet. And instead of trying to explain yourself, you've learned to stand still in your truth. There's power in that stillness. There's strength in that refusal to betray your intuition just to fit in. But it also means that at times, you will walk alone. At times you will feel unseen, not because you're invisible, but because what you carry is too much for those still avoiding depth. Your presence demands realness, and not everyone is ready to be real. But don't let that harden you. Don't let that close your heart. Let it sharpen your discernment. Let it deepen your clarity. Let it remind you that being misunderstood is often the price of being authentic. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't designed to be palatable. You were made to be powerful, to walk in truth, to stand in spaces and shift them without even trying. And if that makes people uncomfortable, let it. Because the ones who are ready will find you. The ones who are meant to walk beside you will rise to meet your energy. Until then, don't shrink, don't silence yourself. Don't doubt what you feel. Your aura sees too much, feels too deeply, knows too clearly. And that is not a weakness. That is your gift. Own it, live it, protect it. Unusual activity has been detected from your device. Try again later. 96, A53260, E82597 DCIAD. The more deeply you to explain your energy to anyone, you start to realize that not everyone is meant to understand you. Some people will misunderstand your intentions no matter how pure they are. Some will question your calm, misread your boundaries, and assume your strength is ego. But what they think of you is not your business. It's a reflection of their own limitations. You're not here to be decoded by those who've never taken the time to understand themselves. You weren't created to dilute your essence for the comfort of others. The truth is, your power makes noise even when you're silent. It vibrates through rooms before you speak. It challenges everything false, even when you're being kind. That's why some people feel unsettled around you. Because when you're in alignment, you stop participating in roles that don't serve your soul. You no longer entertain conversations that drain you. You stop trying to win people over who are committed to misunderstanding you. And that shift in you becomes the storm that others weren't prepared for. But the ones who are awake will feel it differently. They'll feel drawn in, not because you cater to them, but because you remind them of something they lost. Your presence gives them permission to rise. It shows them what's possible when a person fully owns who they are. That's what your energy does. It disrupts illusions and activates potential. And even if others don't thank you for it, even if they never say it out loud, they'll remember how you made them feel. Not because of what you did for them, but because of how deeply you lived your truth in front of them. The challenge is staying rooted in who you are when others try to shake you. It's easy to doubt yourself when you're surrounded by people who can't see your value. It's easy to second-guess your path when you feel alone in your awareness. But what's easy isn't what builds power. Your power grows when you stay centered in chaos, when you remain authentic in environments that reward conformity, when you keep showing up fully, even when it would be safer to hide. So keep holding your ground. Keep choosing truth over comfort. Keep honoring your energy, even when it creates waves. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your boundaries, your intensity, or your stillness. What you carry is rare. Protect it. What you radiate is powerful. Trust it. What you trigger in others is not something to fix. It's something to understand. If your presence disturbs them, so be it. That's the sign you're alive. That's the sign your energy is doing exactly what it was meant to do. Wake people up, not through force, but through unwavering truth. And there is nothing more powerful than that. The power within you is not loud, but it's unmistakable. It's the kind of power that speaks through presence alone. It doesn't demand attention, it commands it. You don't chase influence, yet your existence shifts perspectives. And it's not because you're trying to prove anything, it's because you've already proven it to yourself. That's what makes your energy unshakable. You've done the inner work. You've faced the chaos. You've built yourself from silence, not applause. And when someone has earned themselves in that way, the world feels it. But not everyone is ready for what you bring. Some people rely on roles and expectations to define their worth. They need noise, distraction, approval to feel alive. Your stillness exposes that. Your clarity confronts their confusion. Your presence reminds them that true power comes from within, and that truth either inspires them or offends them. You don't have to say a word. Just being in the room challenges what they've spent their lives avoiding, and that's why they may resist you. It's not personal. It's energetic. They feel the difference, and that difference demands a decision. To evolve, or to escape. Don't let their discomfort dim your expression. You are not here to shrink for the sake of keeping peace that was never rooted in truth. You are not here to fit into boxes that were built to hold smaller versions of you. You're here to lead, not with force, but with presence. Not with noise, but with clarity. And the people who are meant to align with you will never ask you to be less. They will rise to meet you where you are. This is how you know your aura is powerful. It doesn't just attract, it activates. It doesn't just get noticed, it gets felt. And that feeling lingers long after you're gone. Because real presence stays, it echoes, it imprints. That's why you must protect it. Guard your energy like it's sacred, because it is. You've earned every bit of your awareness, every piece of your peace, and no one has the right to take that from you. Not through guilt, not through misunderstanding, not through projection. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You don't need to explain why your boundaries exist. You don't need to soften your truth to avoid rejection. What's meant for you will meet you in your fullness, not your fragments. And the more you embrace your own energy, the less you'll tolerate anything that asks you to abandon it. Stand in that. Stand in the calm. Stand in the depth. Let others feel what they need to feel. Let them be uncomfortable if it wakes them up. You're not here to be accepted by the masses. You're here to be remembered by the few who are ready to rise. And for that, your aura doesn't need approval. It only needs space. Keep claiming it. Keep owning it. Your presence is the message, and the right ones are already listening. You don't owe the world your softness just because it doesn't know how to handle your strength. The truth is, your aura is felt before you enter the room, and long after you've left, it lingers, challenging what's fake, confronting what's hidden, and calling people back to who they really are. That kind of power doesn't ask for attention. It is attention. And when you carry that energy, you don't have to speak loudly to be heard. Your presence speaks for you. Your energy introduces you. And it's either received as inspiration or resisted as threat. There will be moments where you feel that resistance more than anything. People pulling back, acting cold, misinterpreting your quiet as arrogance, your clarity as control, your peace as distance. But none of that is yours to carry. You were never meant to twist yourself into a version others could be comfortable around. Your light isn't here to be dimmed so someone else can feel safe in their shadows. You're not a reflection of their fear. You're a reminder of their potential. And reminders can be uncomfortable when someone has been hiding from themselves for too long. Still, the way you show up doesn't need to change. You're not here to be palatable. You're here to be real, to walk in truth, to move through life grounded in who you are, even when no one else understands it. Because authenticity is never about convenience. It's about alignment. And alignment comes with consequences. Some people will walk away from your truth because they're not ready to meet their own. Let them. You were never meant to be everything to everyone. The most powerful thing you can do is keep choosing yourself. Not in a selfish way, but in a sacred one. To keep honoring your peace. To protect your energy from anything that drains, distracts, or distorts it. Because the world needs more of what you naturally are. Not a watered-down version. Not a quieter voice. Not a dimmer light. But you, fully awake, fully aware, fully alive in your truth. Your aura will disturb those who benefit from confusion. It will rattle those who rely on performance. It will unsettle those who don't know how to exist without pretending. That doesn't make you wrong. That makes you rare, and rare doesn't need to justify itself. Rare doesn't need to beg for understanding. It only needs to be. And in that being, it leads, without shouting, without explaining, without proving anything to anyone. Keep walking with that silent fire inside you. Keep letting your presence do the work your words never could. Because the more you embody who you really are, the less space there will be for anything that isn't real. And in a world desperate for truth, your energy becomes a revolution. One that begins with your refusal to shrink. Stay big, stay bold, stay true. The world won't always be ready, but that was never your job. Your job is to remain undeniable. The deeper your self-awareness grows, the quieter you become. Not because you lack something to say, but because you no longer need to say it to be heard. Silence becomes your strength. Observation becomes your power. You start seeing things for what they are, not what people pretend them to be. The games, the masks, the empty noise, it all starts falling away. And in that clarity, your energy sharpens. Your aura doesn't just enter rooms, it scans them. It senses truth. It detects tension. It knows when something is off, even if no one else can see it. That's the depth of your inner evolution. You've trained yourself to read between lines, to feel behind words, to sense intentions. And when others feel that, it shakes them. Most people don't live that way. They live on autopilot, chasing validation, clinging to distraction and performing for acceptance. But your energy breaks that illusion. It's like a mirror they didn't ask for but can't look away from. It reflects everything they're avoiding. That's why your presence alone can shift an atmosphere, not because you're trying to, but because you've stopped hiding. And when someone has nothing to hide, they become powerful without effort. They become magnetic without trying, and that magnetism can either inspire healing or trigger insecurity. The key is this: don't water yourself down to make others feel safe in your presence. You are not intimidating. They're just intimidated. And that difference matters. You're not too much. They've just never seen someone so at peace with themselves. You don't speak too directly. They're just not used to truth without a mask. You don't demand respect. You radiate it. That kind of energy challenges people to rise or run. Let them choose. But never lower your frequency to chase comfort over authenticity. You're not here to manage people's reactions. You're here to manage your alignment. When you're aligned with who you are, everything that isn't aligned with you will start to fall away. And that's not loss, it's clarity. It's the universe making space for real connections, real purpose, real growth. The more you step into that version of yourself, the more you'll feel the divide between who you were and who you are becoming. And that's where your strength is born, in the willingness to be misunderstood, in the courage to walk alone when necessary, and the boldness to keep rising even when others don't see why. Protect that version of yourself. Nurture it. Honor it. Because the world will try to pull you back into noise. It will tempt you to trade authenticity for approval. But you've come too far for that. You've peeled back too many layers. You've seen too much truth. And now, your aura isn't something you wear. It's something you are. So stand firm. Stay clean in your energy. And let every moment you walk in truth remind the world what unshakable presence really looks like. Not everyone is meant to understand you, and they don't need to. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to be aligned with yourself. That's the difference between seeking validation and stepping into power. When you finally realize that your path is yours alone, you stop needing applause for every step. You stop shrinking to fit into spaces that no longer match your energy. You stop apologizing for being who you are just because it makes others uncomfortable. There's a rare kind of peace that comes when you no longer require permission to exist fully. And in that peace, your aura expands. People feel it even when you say nothing. They feel the quiet fire inside you. They sense the discipline it took to become this self-aware. They notice the restraint, the depth, the lack of desperation in your presence. That's what sets you apart. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not chasing anyone. You're not performing to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself. And when that kind of energy walks into a room, it stirs something. For some, it's inspiration. For others, it's discomfort. But for you, it's alignment. And alignment is more valuable than acceptance. The truth is, when your energy becomes too pure, too grounded, too clear, it becomes unrecognizable to those who live in confusion. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need their approval. They don't know how to handle someone who doesn't react emotionally to manipulation. They don't know how to respond to someone whose confidence is built on inner work, not ego. That's why your aura disturbs. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. But it's undeniable. It doesn't argue. It just reveals. And in revealing, it demands clarity. It exposes hidden motives. It pierces through the surface. That's the cost of being real in a world addicted to pretending. You won't always be liked. But you'll always be respected by the right ones. And the respect that comes from being fully yourself is worth more than the approval that comes from being half of what you are. This is what real power feels like. Not force, not control, but freedom. The freedom to walk away from anything that doesn't honor your energy. The freedom to say no without guilt. The freedom to stand in your truth without bending under pressure. That's the power of someone who has mastered their presence. Someone who no longer fears rejection because they no longer reject themselves. Someone who doesn't just enter the room, they shift the atmosphere by being exactly who they are. You are that person. You are that presence. And the world may not be ready for it, but you are. You're ready to keep walking in truth. You're ready to disturb the spaces where inauthenticity used to hide. You're ready to be the reminder that light doesn't ask permission to shine. It just does. And you, fully aligned, fully real, fully awake, are the light they never saw coming. When you carry truth in your presence, you become a mirror. Not everyone is ready to look. Some will glance at you and feel the sting of their own unhealed wounds. They won't always know why they're uncomfortable around you, but deep down, something in them recognizes the weight of your authenticity, and that's what creates the tension. It's not your words, it's not your actions, it's your energy silently asking them to rise. Not by force, not by judgment, but by existing as living proof that it's possible to evolve. That reflection alone can disturb those who are hiding from their own potential. You don't need to defend yourself when people misinterpret your calm as arrogance. Let them. You don't need to shrink when your silence is mistaken for distance. Stay silent. You're not here to constantly explain your evolution. You're not here to water yourself down so others feel safe. You're here to embody your highest truth, and sometimes that truth will clash with the illusions others hold on to. Let it, because your growth isn't for show. It's for alignment, and alignment demands integrity, even when it's lonely. When your aura is strong, you begin to see through things. Conversations feel different. You sense the energy behind the words. You feel the motive beneath the smile. You notice when someone's presence doesn't match their intention. This awareness isn't paranoia, it's clarity. It's the result of deep inner work that has sharpened your perception, and with clarity comes responsibility, not to fix others, not to carry their weight, but to choose wisely. Choose where you go, choose who you trust, choose what you allow into your space, because your peace is not up for negotiation. You weren't made to live in constant reaction. You weren't designed to be drained by people who only know how to take. The moment you realized your energy was sacred, everything began to change. You stopped chasing validation. You started protecting your presence. That's when your aura expanded, not because you tried to be powerful, but because you stopped pretending you weren't. That decision, that shift, sends a signal. It tells the world you're no longer available for chaos, for games, for smallness. And that signal is loud to those who still feed on dysfunction. Let them be disturbed, not because you wish them harm, but because your peace unsettles their noise. Your clarity threatens their confusion. Your boundaries disrupt their control, and that's exactly how it's meant to be. Your presence was never meant to blend in. It was meant to awaken, and awakening isn't always gentle. Sometimes it shakes, sometimes it burns, sometimes it breaks the illusion wide open. But in that breaking, something deeper is revealed. Truth, freedom, power, not the kind that dominates, but the kind that liberates. That's what your aura does. It liberates, it disrupts what no longer serves. It clears the path for what's real. And in a world that's lost in the noise, your stillness speaks. Let it speak. Let it disturb. Let it transform everything it touches, starting with you. Some people won't dislike you because of what you've done. They'll dislike you because of what you represent. You reflect a level of inner work they haven't dared to begin. You radiate a strength they've been too afraid to cultivate. And when your energy enters the room, it shakes the comfort of their stagnation. They might smile. They might even pretend to support you. But underneath, there's tension, because your light highlights their shadows. Your presence exposes the lies they've told themselves about who they are and who they're not willing to become. This discomfort isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's evidence that something powerful is shifting. The old you used to dim your energy to avoid that reaction. You used to question yourself every time someone withdrew, gossiped, or changed their tone. But now you know better. You know their discomfort is not your responsibility. Their projections don't define your worth. And their silence isn't rejection. It's resistance to the truth you carry. You've done the inner work, and it shows. You've broken cycles they're still trapped in. You've faced pain they've buried. You've healed wounds they pretend don't exist. And that kind of growth cannot go unnoticed. You weren't meant to be liked by everyone. You were meant to be real. And being real means standing firm, even when others misunderstand you. It means honoring your boundaries even when it offends. It means choosing authenticity over approval every single time. That's not arrogance. That's self-respect. And self-respect is magnetic. It draws in those who are ready. It repels those who are not. Both are necessary. Both are signs you're aligned. You don't need to adjust to make others feel okay. You're not here to soothe egos. You're here to walk in truth. And truth doesn't always make people comfortable. When you stop betraying yourself to keep the peace, you start building a deeper kind of peace. The one that can't be shaken by opinion. The one that stays solid even when others leave. That peace becomes your power. That peace becomes your protection. You start to see that your energy is not just strong, it's sacred. You begin to protect it. Not out of fear, but out of deep reverence for the path you've walked to get here. Let people feel what they feel. Let them distance themselves if they must. Don't chase, don't explain, don't shrink. Stay rooted, stay centered. You're not responsible for their healing, only your own. And by choosing to stay aligned, you give others the unspoken permission to rise too. If they choose, some will, some won't. But your role is not to convince. Your role is to embody. So stand in your light. Not because it makes you better, but because it makes you free. And in your freedom, you become a quiet revolution, an energy that transforms without force, a presence that speaks without words, a soul that leads by example. That is your gift. That is your aura. Let it rise. You don't have to announce your power for people to feel it. Your energy speaks long before you say a word. The way you enter a room, the way you hold your ground, the way your silence carries weight. It all says more than noise ever could. And not everyone can handle that. Because when your energy is aligned, it can't be manipulated. When your mind is focused, it can't be easily distracted. When your heart is healed, it no longer falls for what once broke it. That's the kind of presence that disrupts the illusions others live in. It unsettles the masks they wear. It brings discomfort because it brings truth. The moment you stop needing validation, you start radiating it. You walk with a calm that can't be explained. You carry a quiet certainty that others can feel but rarely understand. It's not confidence rooted in pride. It's confidence rooted in awareness of who you are, what you deserve, and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Level of self-awareness creates friction with those who still operate from insecurity. Not because you're trying to outshine them, but because your light reveals the places they've been hiding from themselves. You weren't built to fit in. You were built to awaken. And awakening doesn't look soft. It looks like boundaries that offend people who benefited from your lack of them. It looks like solitude that others interpret as arrogance. It looks like growth that leaves behind those still waiting to be rescued. But this isn't about pleasing the world. It's about aligning with the truth of your soul. That truth isn't always loud, but it's always powerful. It doesn't force, but it never apologizes for existing. Every time you honor your inner voice instead of silencing it to make others comfortable, you grow stronger. Every time you choose self-respect over self-sacrifice, you reclaim your power, and each time you remain calm in the face of chaos, you confirm what your energy has already made clear. You are not here to play small. You are here to break patterns, not continue them. To rise, not remain. And when your aura vibrates at that level, it becomes a mirror. Some will look into it and see what they could become. Others will look and see what they're afraid to face. Let them feel uncomfortable. Let them mislabel your strength. Their discomfort is not your burden. You weren't made to soften your edges for fragile egos. You were made to be whole. And in your wholeness, you become untouchable. Not because you're unreachable, but because you're grounded. That groundedness shakes the ground under those still living in denial. And still, you remain steady, aligned, empowered. You don't need to tone yourself down to keep the peace. The right people won't be disturbed by your energy. They'll be inspired by it. They'll feel safe, seen, and challenged to rise with you. That's how you'll know you're walking in your truth. That's how you'll know your aura is doing exactly what it's meant to do. Some people will never understand the fire inside you because they've never dared to light their own. They'll try to dim yours not because it's too much, but because it reminds them of everything they've suppressed, every risk they didn't take, every truth they ignored, every dream they buried. But your fire isn't too bright. Their comfort zone is just too small. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your intensity. You don't need to apologize for your evolution. You were never meant to shrink just so others wouldn't feel small in your presence. You were meant to expand, to burn through the limitations you were taught to accept, to become everything they said was too much. This world does not reward the silent soul who waits for permission. It rewards the one who stands tall when everything tries to pull them down. And you, despite the chaos, despite the noise, despite the doubt, you are still standing. That's not weakness, that's not arrogance, that's power, not the kind that shouts, the kind that breathes, the kind that stands still in a storm, unshaken, unwavering, unwilling to give up even one more inch of ground. And when you own that, when you lean into it fully, you become a force that can't be ignored. You don't rise by pretending to be less. You rise by deciding that your truth matters more than anyone's comfort, that your healing matters more than their approval, that your future is not up for negotiation. And when you make that decision, something shifts, not just in your actions but in your energy. You stop chasing people. You stop needing reassurance. You stop begging for what was never meant for you. Because now, you see clearly. You see that what you were searching for in others, peace, strength, validation, it was in you all along. The world taught you to doubt yourself. Your power unsettled it. Your presence challenged it. But you are not here to make the world feel safe from your truth. You are here to embody it, boldly, relentlessly, with a quiet knowing that says, I've already won, not because the path is easy, but because your spirit is unbreakable. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you magnetic. Not the image you project, but the resilience you carry. Not the mask you wear, but the soul you refuse to hide. You are no longer available for fear-based living, no longer willing to betray your own heart to gain temporary comfort. You've reached a point where settling feels more painful than uncertainty, where silence feels more suffocating than rejection. And from that place you rise, not in anger, not in ego, but in absolute clarity. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are choosing yourself, fully, finally, and nothing will ever be the same. Because now, you're not just surviving, you're becoming, and the world is about to witness a version of you that no longer asks for permission to exist. You are no longer the version of yourself that tolerated things just to keep the peace. You've seen what it costs to abandon your voice, to shrink your presence, to deny the fire that lives within you. And now, silence isn't an option. Playing small isn't an option. Pretending you don't care just to avoid discomfort isn't an option. You've grown past the point of needing acceptance from people who never truly saw you. You've tasted the bitterness of betraying yourself to fit in, and you've decided that truth, even when it's hard, is more nourishing than any lie that keeps you numb. There is a power inside of you that doesn't flinch anymore when tested. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't need to be understood. It simply exists, steady, grounded, immovable. And from that place of stillness, you begin to make decisions that reflect who you truly are, not who you were taught to be. You don't need to prove your worth. You need to live it. You don't need to chase love. You need to embody it. You don't need to beg for recognition. You need to remember that nothing outside of you defines your value. Your time is too precious to waste explaining your spirit to people committed to misunderstanding it. Your energy is too sacred to pour into places that don't pour back. Every moment you reclaim your power, you strengthen the roots of your becoming. You shed the expectations that once kept you captive. You peel back the layers of who you thought you had to be. And beneath it all, there is clarity. There is peace. There is a version of you untouched by the noise, unmoved by the judgment, unstoppable in pursuit of what is real. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world convinced you to forget, before fear crept in, before doubt dimmed your light, before you measured yourself against a standard that was never yours to begin with. You are not too sensitive. You are not too intense. You are not too much. You are exactly enough, raw, real, and radiant. You carry a frequency that was never meant to blend in. It was meant to rise, to resonate, to lead. You are no longer available for half-lived lives or half-spoken truths. You are no longer at war with yourself. You've stopped apologizing for your path. You've stopped editing your soul to make it easier for others to digest. And now, you move differently. You speak differently. You hold yourself differently. Not from ego, but from alignment. Because when you stop waiting for permission to be who you are, you unlock a version of life that can only be experienced by the fully awake, the deeply courageous, and the relentlessly honest. This is your standard now. This is your power. This is your becoming. And you will never go back to sleep. You are no longer interested in waiting for the world to change before you rise. You've realized the shift begins within. No more searching outside for a savior, for signs, for permission. You are the spark. You are the shift. You are the force that turns chaos into clarity, pressure into purpose, pain into fuel. The old self, built on fear, shaped by doubt, chained by approval, is gone. What remains is raw conviction, unshakable presence, and the quiet knowing that nothing real can be taken from you. You've buried the version of you that needed the world's applause to feel alive. Now, you breathe fire in silence, move in truth without explanation, and show up with the weight of someone who has met every storm and still stands. Your life is not a product of chance. It is a reflection of what you decide to tolerate, what you allow to stay, what you choose to believe. The moment you decide that your peace is non-negotiable, your standards elevate. The moment you decide your time is sacred, your boundaries sharpen. The moment you decide your growth is more important than anyone's comfort, your path clears. And from that space, you begin to shape reality with intention instead of reaction. You stop adjusting yourself to fit into fractured spaces. You stop watering yourself down to keep connections that drain you. You stop handing your power to people who never knew what to do with it. This is where you rise above the noise, not to escape it, but to stop letting it define you. This is where you stop shrinking when your greatness makes others uncomfortable. This is where you refuse to apologize for your strength, your vision, your intensity. You are not here to be palatable. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be real, to be whole, to be full. You're not chasing potential anymore. You're embodying it. You're not negotiating your worth. You're living it. You're not asking life to be easier. You're choosing to be stronger, wiser, bolder. The work is never in the external. It's in the decision to stay rooted when everything around you tries to shake you loose. It's in the choice to act with integrity when no one is watching. It's in the refusal to collapse when your fears rise. Strength isn't noise. It's not dominance. It's not control. Strength is presence. Strength is discipline. Strength is staying true when every excuse begs you to quit. You don't need more motivation. You need deeper self-respect. You need to look in the mirror and decide that the life you've been avoiding is a life you're no longer willing to postpone. You owe it to yourself to walk into every day like you deserve to win, like you are built for this, like nothing can stop you but the limits you refuse to break. And now, you're done refusing. Now, you're ready. Now, you're rising. Every excuse you've ever made has lost its power the moment you decided to stop running. The truth is, it was never the circumstances. It was never the timing. It was never the lack of opportunity.